Round 18 was a crazy one. Look at this score of 1456. It's okay. It was a top 9% score, which made me lose a few ranks, which is not crazy. Thankfully, did have a few of the biggest scorers there, and we'll get through into that in a second. And your team lists, Origin, there's plenty going on. I know personally I lost a few people, and I know if you're watching this yourself and you're in the same boat, just know that a lot of people are, and hopefully you were sitting around that sort of 14 mark before those outs, and you only have to make a couple of trades to get to a good squad. So myself, they're into 630 overall after losing 36 ranks. 12 trades remain after saving the couple last week, which was good. 15.6 million in the team value. So I think that's a really good spot to kind of launch into this week. And really, it's a very, very fun week, a tough week of that, just to make sure that you can really look to build towards your final 17. You want to be having sort of pretty close to at least one sub in each of your positions that can be a really good player for you each and every week. Because there are going to be teams that have a bye, obviously, still. Once we get past round 20, every team, in each of those weeks, there are one team with the bye. So we are going to need some cover, and that's going to be your main importance here, is to obviously get to your top guns, the David Fafitas and these types of guys, but making sure that each position you have some type of cover that could come in and score you a 50 plus, something like that. So really, looking into this week, potential for cash downs, or cash outs, nuffs as people call them, as guys that could score you this week, maybe next week at best, and then they're likely to not really play much in your side. If they happen to be a pretty good player, like we speak about Munro here as someone that could potentially keep his spot, obviously the buy in round 20, but got to make a little bit of cash, could keep his spot and be a player that if he does happen to score really well, he could be a late season sort of straight swap or upgrade or something like that when they have their buy in that second to last round. So yeah, there's a few different interesting ways to go about it. I personally own a Cody Walker, which we'll get into now with my team and my score. So started pretty well. We had Mulatalo Wilton with 87.61, Cody Walker and Johnson 79.66, Vanilla Blake with the Symbian. That was a tough one to swallow, but hopefully this week it comes out a much better way of going things and a much better score for him. Taps and Horsburgh with some nice scores in that one, and then Doreen Buller was my only player in that Cowboys game. So that hurt when a lot of other players got massive scores in Drinkwater and Dearden and Val Holmes and these kind of guys. I'm sitting there with Doreen Buller in 16, and he's going to be a very important guy to speak about heading into this week. Jermaine Osako with his 50 was fine, not great. We would have wanted more, but we'll take the 50. Kalen Ponga was our massive one of the week with the 180 there. Preston, the 52, was fine in that game. I was quite happy for him to get a 50 with Ponga going nuts. Garrick was good with 78. He got dropped down a little bit, and Paseka with 54. So he's just been a 54 type of guy since we brought him in. It's been fine. Would have been hoping for him to hit the 60s like he was just before we brought him in. But a lot of negatives in his game, unfortunately. Nico Hines is captain, obviously, in the first game. Tohu Harris, 61. Grant, 73 this week was good. Joey Manu, 92. And our bench there, we had Val Tafare with a 70. Didn't play Christian Welch this week, and that worked out well with a 40 in that one. Couchman there, we're going to get him this week. Alamotti, unfortunately, don't get his score this week either. And Turpin with the injury, and he's going to be one of those guys that, he's made a little bit of cash for us, about that 150 or so. Done a bit of a job, but we lose him now, unfortunately. And we've got Gutho, who's out, which sucks. Hopgood comes back in, and Mitchell Moses is going to be out this week as well. And he's going to be an interesting one, what we do in the half position here with Cleary coming back. And, Moses has been scoring super well. Do you trade Moses for Cleary, or do you hold strong with Moses now that, he's really, really scoring well and the Eels are kind of fit and firing there? So let's look at my squad and make some decisions on what we're going to do here. So what we're looking at, obviously, up top is Grant and Terps. And really, at some point, we're going to be wanting a better hooker. The only option this week I'd see would be like a Brendan Hands, considering he'll get to play the rest of the year and would be like an okay sort of backup for Grant if he happens to miss a game. Having no buys following this week here for Origin, most likely and hopefully you're going to get Grant playing each and every week, and Hands would just be there to kind of back up as a solid player all the way through until round 27 if needed. Looking at our front row forward, and Welchie is definitely an option to go this week. Same with Daniel Paseka. Horsburgh we're going to want to hold throughout the rest of the year, I would imagine, given he has a 63 average and a pretty tough front row forward position. Also just found out it looks like Payne Haas is going to be out in round 20. So 19 and 20 likely he's going to be out, which is frustrating for owners. So he's not someone we want to look at grabbing anytime soon. It's really only Tino that you grab in 20 or 21. So I think we're likely going to cash down one of the Welch or Paseka, and then we could upgrade the other. And we have Tapani, we have Harris, so we can move up to the front row forward if we want. to really have a strong 3 in Fanua Blake Horsburgh and like a Harris or a Taps. And then we can make some upgrades into RF. And Dave Fafita is a big target for me next week. Just remember, I do have the boost in hand, so likely to use the boost next week to grab probably 2 keepers and potentially 1 more cash down. We will see how that plays out, obviously with injuries and guys backing up and stuff like that heading into round 20. But that's kind of what we're looking at in our 2RF is Dave Fafita and potentially 1 more upgrade. Like I have Wilton over Nickera, and an example like that where you would want Nickera, but Wilton can score pretty solidly as well. Like he got that 61 on the weekend, which was nice with no attacking stats. He'd have the 1 line break assist, but really he's every chance of scoring a try this week, or has been one of those guys that's been up and down and solid. Like he's averaging almost the same as Tapine. He's averaging just below Harris as well. You've got Hopgood as being the dominant guy. You've got Preston averaging 60, and everyone says he's a fair hold as well. So I've got kind of a couple of those marginal guys in Harris, Wilton, Preston, and Tapine, and we're at least going to want Fafita as one of them. He's likely to come into the squad next week there. Coming into this week now, I actually have 13 players playing. So I had 16 before we heard the Horsburgh news, the Cody Walker news, and also Gutho. So that was pretty frustrating. And Cody Walker is one of those guys that we are potentially looking to move on this week. I'd say missing 19, missing 20, missing 26. That's 33% of the game. So 3 out of the next 9 he misses, unfortunately. We know obviously his talent there at 74.4 average. The thing is, just missing too many games there, and there's not a lot of 5/8s I would be bringing in this week, and the way I probably would play it would be Joey Manu up to 5/8. Obviously, it doesn't really help me as a player in that position this week, but likely to bring in a Munro as one of my cash downs who can get a decent score this week. And that would leave me with plenty in the bank. Obviously, if I did that with Cody Walker down, it saves me puts 530 in the bank and leaves me plenty of room to go up next week. A second trade is definitely another option because I don't really have any cash outs at the moment. I've got Couchman at 338, I've got Alamotti at 394, and Valtafari at 356. So a few cheaper guys, and the other option would be pull Alamotti down to the cheapie and kind of get a gun in a C&K, Talakai, these types of players. But really next week, am I going to be wanting like an Isaac Tungo? Am I going to be wanting a Val Holmes? These types of players heading into the home stretch, or do I stick strong with the guys that I've got? Alex Johnson could potentially be an upgrade target next week as well at the 564. Hoping he scores well this coming week, but I think it's going to be a bit of a tough game, a tough watch, that one, the South game this week with how many players are out in both teams and the change-ups and all that there. So, really 5/8 position, like, are you going to want to hold Cody Walker for all that, or are you going to want to try and get a Munster in or something like that into that last portion of the year? Or do you go with Ponga and Manu and have another centre wing? Those kind of decisions are going to be there. Thankfully, I do have Ponga, and he's made a lot of cash since I brought him in the last month, which worked out really, really well. Centre wings were sitting pretty with Isako, Malatalo, Manu, and Garrick. Obviously, probably room for 1 more, which could be cool. Someone that can interchange between. Like obviously, we've got Manu that can interchange between 5/8s, and if that's the way we go up with that, then 1 more centre wing would be very much ideal. Buller is our main issue at the moment, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think I should trade him out with the squad that I've got now? Obviously, with 12 trades left, looking to probably get Fafita next week, maybe 1 more cash down and another upgrade. It could be a few upgrades next week there for sure. And maybe it is in that 5/8 position. I trade Walker this week and then bring Manu back down next week and bring in a Munster or something like that there. Johnson, as I said, the other one that could be moved on as well. But I would like to make some changes up here. So, Welchie, Paseka, a lot of sort of mid-range guys. And I don't think there's a lot of moves that need to be done. But it should have plenty in the bank come next week. And the big thing here is we hope that Harry Grant does back up. And if he doesn't, then we'll be in a little bit of strife heading into round 20. But before trades this week, I have 8 out next week. So... No, 7 out, sorry. So I would have 18 available, but that's before I do make some trades, and guys like Munro and those that aren't playing in round 20 could be an issue there. The other thought I had was to go double cheapie this week in Welchie down to Khaleesi Haas or Fa'asula Malawi, Tino's brother there, Isaac. There are a couple of options. I think Khaleesi Haas should be able to score pretty well, so he could be a nice cash down. And if I make those 2 trades, that gives me 15 players, and I can loop between, take the lowest between sort of Couchman, Khaleesi Haas, Munro, Val, these types of guys there. And really, I think this is the week to kind of launch for me. with that couple extra trades, if I can get a really, really good score this week, considering I know there's going to be a few guys that are playing short this week. So 2 trades, 3 trades if I did that this week, and then if I go 2 or 3 next week, potentially could use the boost, which would really help me get to that gun 17 as quickly as possible, and probably get the little jump over some of the guns there that are some of the gun players in SuperCoach that are ranked higher than me. If I can get to the guns quicker than them, if I can really get a good score in this week and in next week with that boost being used, then we can kind of set the team up really, really well. Have 20 or so really good gun players. 21 would be nice. Having 4 average players, but probably 2 guys that aren't playing anymore. 2 guys that could get you a 30 or 40 or 50 there maybe in like Val, and if it is Munro and these types of guys that are going to be able to do a job. Whoever I place Turpin with, that kind of thing there, and we can get to we can kind of make some ranks over the next 2 weeks, which would be really cool, and then kind of just see what happens in the last 6 or 7 rounds. Would be cool. So 9 rounds to go. That would leave me hopefully in sort of if I score really well the next 2, maybe in the top 300 heading into the last 7, and I can make a push. And really, that's the thing at this kind of ranking at 630. This is the week to really drive and try and get a really, really top score and sort of make 200 points or 150 or something like that, which would rocket me up into that top 300. And if I can do well again in 20, it's going to leave us in at least a position to try and push for top 100, top 50 type of honors. Would be cool. I doubt there's any chance of winning at this point. Everything would have to go right to even get close to that. But yeah, top 100 finish is where I'm looking to get to. And if that means at a max I use 6 trades the next 2 weeks, or a minimum probably 4. So 2 this week, 2 next week would be probably the minimum. And that would leave anywhere from 6 to 8 for the last portion. That means I've got my cash cow sorted. I would have the couple of guns I need back in for feeder and these types of plays here, maybe another center wing or another 2RF, something like that. And then we'll put ourselves in a good spot to try and make something out of the season. But it has been a lot of fun getting things right on the SuperCoach side, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed following along with my team and kind of my strategy thoughts. And you obviously get a lot of your thoughts from all the other podcasters as guys to trade in and stuff. And hopefully this one is more of a strategy based on just my own team there and how it's going. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.